नमस्कार मित्रों, मेरा नाम आशुतोष मुगलीकर है। काफ़ी लोग मुझे ऑलरेडी ट्विटर और फेसबुक से जानते ही होंगे, बट जो लोग मुझे जानते नहीं हैं, मैं मेरा शॉर्ट में इंट्रोडक्शन कराना चाहता हूँ। उसके पहले मैं ये अपॉर्चुनिटी लेता हूँ टू थैंक इंडिक एकेडमी एंड इंडिक बुक क्लब फॉर गिविंग मी दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी टू come on their platform and discuss a very dull topic like taxation. So thank you so much. I also take this opportunity to thank Creative India magazine and Swarajya magazine for being the media partners for this particular Indic chat. Thank you so much. Coming back, दोस्तों, today I will be discussing about social media and GST. That is the topic. Before that, I would like to introduce myself. I am Ashutosh Muglikar. I practice as a company secretary. I've got a small consulting firm in Pune, India. And I work mainly on compliance aspect for any corporate entity. So today, I play a dual role when it comes to GST. Just like you and any other person, I am a consumer, and at the same point of time, being on the other side of the table, I am a compliance guy. I help companies to comply with all the laws that are applicable to them as a practicing company secretary. So why did I choose GST and social media as a topic? Firstly, the reason was very simple. I was extremely shocked to note that there are people in this country who are celebrating a tax. GST at the end of the day is nothing but a tax, and people were celebrating it. I was pretty shocked. Before going to that aspect, I would like to give you a brief background. So what is this GST all about? Why is every other person talking about GST? GST was first conceptualized in the year 2000 or 2001. A concept paper was released under the Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government. And in 2017, this particular concept paper has become a law. It took literally 17 years for this simple concept to come in India. If you really ask my opinion, I feel this should have been there in our constitution or in our federal taxation structure right from the beginning. Anyway, that is a separate topic for discussion. But nevertheless, this particular tax came into existence in 2017 after a lot of deliberations spanning into a decade and a half. It materialized into a law. Both the major political parties, that is the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Congress, both of them, they did their usual opposition and then support and all that thing. But anyway, conceptually, both of them were okay with introducing this particular tax in India. So what exactly did GST do? To understand this, you have to first understand what was the earlier structure. The earlier structure was a mess, if you really ask me. Mess in what sense? That, probably I can explain you in a very simple and a short way. Mess was that right from procurement of raw materials, manufacturing it, then manufacturer selling it to the wholesaler, wholesaler to the retailer, and finally the retailer to the end consumer, there were multiplicity of taxes that were imposed on that one particular item. Most of these taxes were having cascading effect. So now you will ask me, what is cascading effect? In simple terms, that particular product was getting taxed multiple times, and one tax was again getting added to the cost, and on that added cost another tax was getting imposed. So that is tax on tax. So what happened exactly because of this? Firstly, the price of the goods which the ultimate consumer was paying, that is you and I, was unnecessarily getting higher. Secondly, because of this multiplicity of taxes, a lot of evasion or a lot of compliance headache used to happen for the businessman. So finally they thought that, okay, we have this big mess called indirect taxes in this country. Why not bring a goods and service tax? Simple, one nation, one tax. The indirect tax regime, the earlier one, there were three authorities, if I may use the word, three different authorities that were taxing. One was the central government, which was charging the excise duty, the service tax, the central service tax, CST that is. The state governments, which were charging VAT and other taxes. And the local bodies, that is your municipal corporations like Delhi Municipal Corporation, Pune Municipal Corporation, BMC, which were charging octroi or LBT. So these three entities were, concentrating on X amount of goods that are getting produced by a manufacturer, and how that one good travels from his factory till the end consumer. They said, okay, this is a big mess. People are, unnecessarily getting taxed twice. So let us bring GST. What GST structure, the one which is there as a across the world, we here in India, it is not exactly similar to that, but they have tried to adopt it and adapt it to our conditions. Having said this, I would like to add that we have now become one amongst the 165 countries that impose GST. Anyway, coming back. So what exactly is in there for you as a consumer in GST? That is pretty important for you to understand, and I will try to explain it. And how we can use this particular opportunity, or how we can particularly use this new enthusiasm or the energy levels that people are showcasing on social media to channelize, to make the people in power accountable for every penny that we pay to them via GST. Again, am I the only taxpayer? No. If you are not paying direct taxes, does that mean you are not a taxpayer? No. Are the rich people the only ones who are paying taxes? No. The very concept of indirect taxes is that as they get embedded into the cost of the product, each and every person in this country is a taxpayer. You are a taxpayer, I am a taxpayer. That particular aspect gives you and I the equal right to demand services from the government, to demand accountability from the government, to demand that every penny that you pay to them is put to right use. Okay. So what happened exactly? Once the constitutional amendment was done, because the earlier structure was dividing the powers between the central government and the state government to tax goods and services, not the services but the goods, it needed a constitutional amendment for GST to come in. Once that was done, the model GST laws were drafted, put forth for stakeholder comments, the model rules, everything was put forth for the public participation, where consultants, lawyers, chartered accountants, company secretaries, cost and works accountants, the businessmen, the various chamber of commerce, they can run through it, they can provide their feedback. Once that particular exercise was done, all the model laws were actually passed by various state governments and as well as the central government. Okay. Is it the fact that GST was planned on 30th of June and it came on 1st of July and it caught everyone by surprise? Absolutely no. I think everybody probably knew that this particular law is coming for like 2 years at least. If not 2 years, at least for 1.5 years, everybody knew that this will be the law and this will be the particular way in which it is going to be implemented, or this is the way a particular goods will be taxed. As and when the final date for implementing GST came by, I started observing that a lot of interest or a lot of enthusiasm about GST is getting evoked, or it's coming out from the people. Now, like on Twitter, many people follow me since a long time. They know me from there, and they also know the fact that I try to simplify things in the least complicated manner, in a way where a commoner can understand things, in a way where a commoner can actually digest what I'm trying to say and then even implement it. I suddenly started getting messages, tags, direct messages, or quotes saying that what is this? What is the rate of this particular tax? Or what is the rate at which my restaurant bill is going to change now? Or at what rate is particular good getting taxed, etc., etc., etc. Many of these queries were extremely valid. Many of these queries were quite silly. Many of these queries were out of ignorance. Many of these queries were out of confusion. And I started thinking that, okay, because I, being a consultant and in this field since a long time, why not use this particular opportunity to help the common folks who are not from the finance side or the economic side or the tax side, to explain them what is GST and how it is going to impact them. Then I started responding to each and every query. I tried my best to answer as many people as possible. And I take this opportunity to say, I apologize if I have missed your tag or something. But I try my best to explain them what is the concept, how it is going to impact them, what is it that they can get out of it, and what exactly should be their next steps. Having said that, I would like to explain you the very basics of GST again, so that it's clear and it does not confuse you. A lot of media folks, I don't know what kind of anger they have or what kind of hatred they have for any government. I will not name it, but I have seen them talking absolutely rubbish, fear mongering, raising the least pertinent issue, not giving the right feedback to the government, and indulging in mudslinging. So it becomes pertinent for me to explain the concept in a simple way. In the most simplest way, GST is taxing the addition of value which a particular raw material gets converted into converted into a final product and till it reaches the end consumer. That's it. So the various taxes like excise, basic BCD, then your octroi, then your VAT, then your Krishi Kalyan cess, your Swachh Bharat cess, various types of taxes that were getting imposed on one particular item will now have one tax called GST. It's as simple as that. So what's in it for you as a consumer? To answer this simple question, you have to know that what was the amount of taxes that you used to pay on that same particular product before GST. When one particular product comes in your hands at say 100 rupees MRP, let me tell you that that particular product already had all these particular taxes embedded in the price itself. It is just that you never knew about it. But when we moved from the earlier system to the new system, the only thing that has changed is today you can transparently see the amount of taxes you are paying on one particular item. That is it. Now, why am I getting taxed 28% on say beauty products or 18% for one particular service like say telephone? It's a very valid question. My dear friends, you have to understand the very concept of tax. Why are we paying taxes? Simple. Taxes are a cost to society. Taxes contribute to the revenue of the state. Now, what does the state do with this revenue? I don't have to tell you. Frankly, you already know that they purchase fighter jets, they make roads, dams, or probably they don't make roads. But they do have to spend a lot of money in our defense, our healthcare, our infrastructure, for building those airports and payment of various, for subsidies. All that money comes from various sources, and indirect tax is one of that source. So at the philosophical level, I can very well say that you are in fact contributing to the growth of the nation. Okay. Having said that, it becomes important for every person to make sure that whatever taxes they are paying actually reach to the government. Number one. Number two, once the money goes to the government, we as citizens must also make sure that the money is put to right use. It is very important. And one aspect that this GST has brought, and which I am personally very, very, very happy about, is that today people are questioning. A lot of people ask me, why am I paying so much taxes on this particular item? I feel really nice because earlier that guy was not knowing. Today he not just knows the amount but is also feeling the pain. And that particular pain will make all of us as aware citizens who will demand accountability, who will not tolerate wastage of their hard-earned money on corruption, on scams, on loot, which probably the earlier government was very much famous for doing. And that particular change, I am so happy that this particular tax GST has brought forth. Many people today are really aware and are demanding. That will really scare any government, be the state government, your local body, or the central government, that today the new India, what our Prime Minister keeps talking about, is going to demand accountability from everyone. Simply because he's a contributory to it. Today, we can demand that our soldiers who are standing on the border get the right equipment. They get those helmets, they get those jackets. Why else are we paying these taxes for? It is for them. It is not for anyone to gulp or, just appropriated. No, it is for building the nation. And as far as this particular government is concerned, I can confidently and very proudly say that they are putting this money to the right use. It reflects from the fact that a lot of money is getting saved via plugging the loopholes. We have absolutely heard no scam, and I hope that this particular, this performance keeps repeating year after year after year. And GST, not just GST, but all sorts of contributions that we make for nation building actually result in growth in GDP. Okay, so this was the concept of GST. And I also tried to explain you how social media has, kind of become aware, and how people are now demanding stuff. In this aspect, I would also like to highlight that many people are very confused, probably because of the WhatsApp forwards, probably because of the wrong reporting by the media, or maybe wrong discussions with their friends, etc. Apart from that, there are certain people who are quite aware. So what exactly are they doing, and what you can do to have that minimum kind of level of understanding this concept where you don't get fooled? So I would like to give you certain tips. First thing that you have to do, my dear friends, is get a small booklet. On my Twitter and Facebook profile, I will share a link. It is a small 20-page booklet which will explain you all these concepts in a very succinct and beautiful manner. And because of that, you will not be fooled if anyone tries to fool you. Apart from that, so that is your first step. The second step that you have to do is download the official GST app. Now, what happens with this app is, if at all you are not aware of the right rate of GST, the right classification of the goods, you can go there, search via the product name or the HSN code, and get the right rates. That is the official app. That should be your second thing. The third thing that you have to do is, whenever you are paying GST, you have to take the invoice. Okay, so you go to the restaurant to pay GST. Make sure that you demand an invoice. Invoice that you demand is nothing but a proof that you have already paid the taxes that were imposed on those particular goods. The fourth thing that you can do as a citizen is you can start making payments digitally. So, naturally that leaves a trail behind, and, you can actually help the government in, checking bills. Okay. These are 3 to 4 small, simple things that you need to do. Apart from that, I see a lot of people having enthusiasm or energy where they ask me questions like, will the amount that I have paid as GST actually go to the government? Will the restaurant keep the money for themselves? Will there be an evasion? Okay, going back, why are people having these questions today? Simply because they are now aware. They are now aware that they are, paying that particular tax to the government, and they want that money to go there only. I appreciate it, my dear friends. Excellent. But do note that while doing this, you are not supposed to doubt or call the businessman a chore or doubt his intentions, because you do not have any basis. You do not know that he is evading taxes. You really don't know. It is absolutely not right to call the businessman a thief or a chore without any basis. It is wrong, my dear friends. I am a consultant. I am a consumer. At the same point of time, I am myself a businessman. Let me tell you, it is extremely difficult to do business in India. Yes, there is ease of doing business. Our government is working on it. But at the ground level, it is quite tough. The entrepreneur faces a lot of issues, both infrastructure wise, local issues, and in that also he carries on his business. As a fun fact, let me tell you, GST being an indirect tax, the entrepreneur earns nothing out of it. In fact, he spends money from his pockets to comply with the law that the government has imposed. He is simply collecting the tax on behalf of the government, going and making the payment. That's it. There will be certain rotten apples who will evade the taxes, but we have to know our responsibility. There is a system, there are officers, there is a full invoice to invoice matching system called GSTN, which has been designed simply to catch these evaders. So what you are not responsible for, then why are you getting worried or worked about it? There's a system to track these evaders, catch them. There are penalty clauses and they will be penalized under those clauses. We have to complete our responsibility. What we are supposed to do, we are do it perfectly, and expect the government to do what they are supposed to do perfectly. In this process, if you start deriding the wage payer, that is the businessman, then we are doing a disservice to this whole community. I would just wanted to add this particular aspect because a lot of people come to me or tag me and they start abusing that particular business or the restaurant or the small eatery, and I feel really pained. Probably that person did not know about this particular rate of tax, or their software was not updated, or it could be a plain mistake also. When we don't know the exact facts, abusing them or literally writing them off is not right. That is my humble opinion. I hope people take it in the positive sense. I'm not defending the wrong guys, but I'm just saying that making a generalized statement is also not right. Having said that, evaders must be punished, and the way this new GST system is planned, the GST and the invoice matching, etc., the evaders will be caught and they will also be punished. Okay. Then there is a lot of confusion amongst the masses about GST on petroleum. So let me tell you, my dear friends, petroleum is not under GST. It is still taxed under VAT by their respective state governments. Why? I don't know. Frankly, I feel that the GST Council has not come to a conclusion or a common agreement where they finally decide to bring petroleum products also under the GST ambit. But as of now, petroleum is not under GST. There are many media persons who are spreading the lies that if GST is brought under, petroleum products are brought under GST, the prices of petrol will be 40 rupees or 45 rupees or something like that. Let me break it to you, my dear friends. If you create a wrong expectation and do not deliver on it, there will be a backlash. And this is exactly what the media always tries to do. They first create a wrong impression. When the government doesn't do it, they say that, okay, they have failed or something like that. Firstly, even if GST covers petroleum products, it will not be taxed at, say, 28%. There will definitely be a cess charged on these particular products. Why? simply because the government needs revenue. Now you will say that government is earning so much, why am I getting taxed? Fair enough. That is a separate topic. But I would like to give you a simple example as to how this particular system works. Forget about the nation for a minute. Forget about everything else. Now think of one single house with 3 to 4 people living in it. Okay. The rent, electricity, food, etc., all these charges or the expenses are say 1200 rupees, 1200 rupees per month. Now, to survive, the government or the owner of the house must earn a minimum of 1200, right? So, what are the sources through which he'll earn? One, he'll have direct taxes. Two, he will have indirect taxes. Three, he will start charging for all the small little services that he provides. Four, he will run companies like ONGC, BPCL, HPCL, various banks which give him dividend, etc., etc., etc. The fact is, whatever are our expenses as a nation, all the sources of revenue for the government are not able to cover those expenses. That is why you keep hearing the word deficit. We are already a deficit nation. So how do we fill this particular gap? Okay, so I earn $1,000, but I have to spend 1200 bucks. How do I get these 200 rupees extra? Simple, I borrow. I borrow from outside India. I borrow from various sources. I borrow from the general public. So, we already are a deficit nation. Taxes on petroleum products give a huge revenue, not just to the central government, but to the state governments. Despite that, we are in deficit. And if petroleum products are brought under GST, the deficit level will not be covered. Rather, it will are brought under GST and taxed at 28% or even 18%. It will not cover the deficit. Rather, the deficit gap will go increase. So, mentally, as a citizen, you have to tone down your expectations. Don't go by this media narrative. Fall for it, and later on, when it doesn't happen, be sad about it. You have to look at things from a larger perspective, as a contributory to the nation building. That level. You have to think from that angle. Once you understand the logic behind things, then suddenly you will not fall for all these small little tricks that people use to fool you. Having said that, you will say, Mr. Ashutosh, why are GST rates constantly changing now? Or why do I see revenue secretary get up one fine day and announce that we are bringing 173 goods out of 28% rate and bringing it to 18%, etc., etc. To understand this, you have to know, take this into account, my dear friends. We are a very complex nation. Whatever is a easily available thing for you and I could be a luxury for someone living in, say, Nagaland or Arunachal Pradesh. What could be an absolutely useless thing for you could be an essential thing for some of our brothers staying in, say, Orissa or Northeast or the Jammu and Kashmir maybe. What could be a luxury for you could be an essential for someone. Because of these complexities, it is very difficult and actually impractical to expect one perfect system on day one. Because of this fact only, there is this concept called as GST Council, which is listening to you, which is listening to all those businessmen, which is addressing your needs and making corrective measures. This is called as progressive elaboration. As and when the project goes ahead and you encounter certain nitty-gritties and small problems, you correct them and move on. It's as simple as that. Secondly, these teething problems will come, not just now or for the next 6 months. This will keep happening for a long period of time, because any project will not become successful or perfect from day one. So what do you and I as citizens do? I'll give you a simple trick, my dear friends, and how social media can be a powerful medium. I have this particular friend, Ankit Jain, who is a jeweler by profession. He is very much active on Twitter. Now, this gentleman uses social media very beautifully. If you keenly observe whatever he posts, you will see that he gives a very practical and a constructive feedback to the government. What does that do? It gets ears. Now think about this, my dear friends. I am someone in power. I am a secretary or some person who has got power. If you have a suggestion and you come to me with that suggestion, will you be abusing me? Will you be, talking gibberish, or will you be getting personal with me or something like that? No. You will come to me and tell me what is the exact problem, what are the issues, and what needs to be done about it. And you will demand certain timelines from me and then say thank you and go away from my office. Similarly, same thing applies to social media also. I'm not saying that don't say whatever you feel like. No, I do not believe in suppressing someone's freedom of expression. All I'm saying is, when you present your problem to the authority, present it in a way which exactly tells the problem, what is the pain point, and probably you don't have to give the solution. That is their work to find solutions. But if you have a solution, put forth. What happens is, if your particular message or a tweet has these basic components, that will be read. If there are abuses, do you think anybody would take you seriously? Think practically. I don't think so anybody would, read between the abuses and your problem and understand and take it ahead. No. They're simply going to ignore your message. Probably lakhs of messages go to them. Similarly, you have to learn this simple, subtle art of presenting your problem and a quick solution. Thirdly, Twitter is not the only medium to present your problems. If you find someone who is evading taxes, there is a help desk 24/7 that works. You can post all the details on that particular help desk. Okay, if you don't want to call, if you then send a detailed email. I will also post the email link to you. You can post a detailed email as to what happened, the facts of the case, the scan of the particular invoice, etc., on that particular email ID, and expect the action to be taken based on your particular complaint. Again, the basic rules of engagement are applicable here also. You are supposed to, in a very short, concise, clear, complete manner, present this particular problem to the authorities. So this is all about GST. This is all about social media and how you can use these tools, which are available literally for free, and become a contributory to this nation building activity. Mind you, my dear friends, today we have got a government which is listening to the needs of the people. They are extremely responsive. We have to learn the art of reaching to these people in the right manner, and then demand from them delivery of services. I also take this opportunity to tell all those who are watching me that we should press for passing of a law which provides for compulsory delivery of services to the citizens in a time-bound manner. I agree, there are certain states which already have this particular law. Many of the government departments already have guidelines to deliver services to the citizens in a time-bound manner. But legislating this particular law is very, very important. This will not only bring transparency, this will also bring accountability. We will know exactly that the responsible people are using our GST money, our direct taxes, or indirect taxes in the right manner. We need this particular law. And when we as citizens start raising our voices, then our elected representatives shall have no option but to listen to us. So I again take this opportunity and this whole enthusiasm that this particular GST has brought forth to push for bringing these particular, really citizen-friendly laws into this country. Now I have already spoken for about 40-42 minutes, and I now would like to, go ahead and take certain questions from you all before I then end our conversation. So, one of the person has messaged me and asked, why are people always criticizing the government? Okay, anyway, this is not related to GST, my dear friends, but I would still like to take up this question. It's quite interesting. See, now this is at a different philosophical level I'm going, but you have to understand one thing, my dear friends. Government is like a big amoeba with a lot of amoeba or some insect or something with a lot of huge tentacles. The head doesn't know where one of its arms is. The people sitting in the offices do not know how their officers are actually delivering services to the last mile. There will always be a gap. There will always be areas where there need to be certain improvements. And when a citizen who is a contributory to the nation, who is paying his taxes on time, despite paying taxes, he's making sure that his nation is clean. He's not littering it. He's not throwing dirt. He's not cheating. He's overall, not just the fundamental rights, but he's making sure that he complies with the fundamental duties also. And then he doesn't get the kind of services that he really deserves. Then there will certainly be certain, disappointment. And that disappointment comes out via social media or some tweets or long posts on Facebook or some, articles or something like that. And that is good. That is absolutely needed. Your voice must reach these people. You are not for them, they are for you. Whatever taxes you are paying are actually a part of it also goes towards the salaries of all these people. What is wrong in demanding services that you deserve from them and getting angry at them? There's a way to put things, I agree. But I don't think anybody should have a problem with criticizing the government. Having said this, it is equally important for people to know that you need to criticize on those aspects which are logical. Criticism just for the sake of it, or just because you hate one particular leader or you like one particular party, is no criticism at all. Your criticism has to be objective. That is all I can, hope that people do it. Criticism should bring about certain change or certain, action, rather than, a rant or a, it should not just sound like, hollow. It should have some basis. And most of it that I see is, political in nature, people who have absolutely no idea about the GST network, who have never ever dealt with any government department, just criticizing the government, saying that the GST portal is not working, this, that. But my question is, boss, tell me, did you ever file a document in the earlier system, or did you even file a document in the current system? Then why are you criticizing things which you don't know? You find things which are actually hurting you, right? And then talk about it. Why are you clogging this whole space? And that's my view. Maybe most of you will not agree. It's again fundamental right to say whatever you say it. Yeah, I don't have any problem. But your question was, why are people criticizing the government? The answer is simple: because they are demanding stuff and they are not getting the stuff. Naturally, criticism will come, and it should come. My only point was, the criticism has to be valid and it has to have certain basis. As a citizen myself, I can try to be like that. I'm not saying I'm not like that. I also criticize on unnecessary things. I am only saying I should try to do it. Next, the query are coming in. Okay, so this is someone who is asking about breakup of taxes on petroleum products. Okay, I don't know the exact breakup, but some time back I had tweeted that there is 117% of tax on diesel, and I think about 125% of tax on petrol. That is the kind of taxes that are imposed on these fuel. Secondly, we have to understand one thing, is that because petrol is not under GST, there is this peculiar problem where big industries are consuming petrol and they are not getting input tax credit against the taxes that they are currently paying, which basically adds to the cost of the end product that we consume. And personally and professionally also, I feel that as early as possible, whatever rate, but as early as possible, GST should cover petroleum products as well. Then I would like to take another question. Okay. Somebody is asking me about if it is a one nation, one tax, then how do we have various slabs? Okay. Having various slabs does not mean that there are various taxes, my dear friend. It is just the rate at which one particular goods is getting taxed. GST is one tax only. The rate of taxes are different. Now you will say, why? The government had said, Mr. Modi had said that it is one nation, one tax, one nation, one market. Why do we have these various slabs and it is confusing? What is SGST, IGST? I'll try to explain. Think about it, my dear friends. You are someone who is earning 1 crore rupees per annum as salary. And there is this poor worker who is earning 10,000 rupees as his monthly salary, or say 1 lakh rupees per annum. Example. He goes out and buys, say, a pack of biscuits. On that particular pack of biscuits, the amount of indirect taxes charged are, say, 10 rupees. All right. This poor fellow goes and buys one pack of biscuits, and on those biscuits 10 rupees is the amount of indirect taxes. Next moment, you, who is earning a crore rupees per annum, goes and buys the same biscuit packet. What will be the amount of tax that will be charged to you? Again 10 rupees. This particular concept is the regressive nature of indirect taxes, which basically means indirect taxes do not consider your income while it is imposed on you. So a poor fellow will also pay equal amount as indirect tax, and you will also pay an equal amount of indirect taxes. On the other hand, the direct taxes, the poor guy does not pay anything because his income is 1 lakh only. Whereas you will pay whatever 25-30% as income tax, and you will be paying 30 lakh rupees, 30 times his annual income as tax. That is progressive. So the higher the income, higher will be the tax. Lower the income, lower will be the tax. That is the nature of direct taxes. Whereas in indirect taxes, it was, as we saw, equal on every person. To remove this regressive nature of indirect taxes, these particular slabs are introduced. So whatever essentials are there, like say milk or veggies or your rice or stuff like that, they are taxed at 0%. Why? Because the poor person, he should be in a position to benefit out of it. If you impose, say, even 5% tax on it, he will be the one who will be at a greater loss. Secondly, okay, maybe for the rich guys also get it at 0%, that is not a problem. How do we cover up that loss of revenue? We tax luxury items with the highest rate. This is also a very beautiful tool to channelize the resources in the economy. If you tax the luxury items in at a high rate, people will divert the resources. The companies will divert those resources in building products which are essential. That's how we need these various different slabs, so that it benefits the the last mile person. The essentials are taxed at lower rate, whereas the luxuries are taxed in the highest rate. Many people also asked me that why Singapore has one rate of tax and why in India we have various slabs. No, it is really wrong to compare a very developed economy like Singapore with India. Firstly, secondly, we have more than 30-35 various heads across the country who are members of this particular council and who have to come up with how these slabs are designed or how each goods is placed into it. That is a very difficult and very different nature of India and Singapore. So it is very wrong to compare both these economies. The poorest of the poor in Singapore also pays a tax on education. He pays taxes on healthcare also. Whereas, do you really think we are in a position to tax healthcare services? No. We have to exempt it because there are so many of our brothers or sisters who cannot afford primary healthcare services also, and you want to impose a tax on that also and make it expensive for them? Not possible. We need these slabs. Having said that, the government is saying that they will rationalize the rates. They will also bring dual rate structure into GST. This brings me again back to the earlier discussion we had, where a project progressively elaborates, where things develop as we go ahead. So we achieved base one. Okay, we can see the results. New SSCs are joining in. The revenue that we were expecting is, getting achieved, and we can see that new SSCs are getting added, and then the tax base is increasing, etc. That naturally gives the confidence to the finance ministers of the nation as well as all the states to adopt newer changes. So, just yesterday or today itself, the Mr. Sushil Modi gave a statement that the GST Council is looking at having dual structure. Excellent. What will be the rates? I don't know. But yes, things are getting improved. And why is it possible? Because not just the traders, not just the businessmen, not just the manufacturers, not just the trade associations or chamber of commerce, but you and I, everyone has contributed to this by talking about it, by creating so much of content online that people were forced to listen to it. Just go on to Twitter or Facebook or YouTube. You see hundreds of videos, hundreds of talks where people are explaining GST and how it is problematic or how it is painful or how it is good. All this adds to the overall the ecosystem or the narrative. This is how things improve. So improve our system, look at our GST structure in a unique manner, get the best practices which are followed outside India. There are 164 other countries where GST is implemented. If you have time, the interest, study those, pick up the best points and try to make a desi mix and present it to the government. If it is excellent, I am sure, dead sure, that it will be discussed and it will come. And this is how you can, again, one more way to be a contributing citizen. So again, just comparing the rates, 7% GST in Singapore, we have got this 0, 5, 12, 18, 20. It's absolutely wrong. Now, just 2 minutes are left for this particular Indic chat. So I take this opportunity to thank each one of you who took out time on a Sunday evening to listen to my talk. Thank you so much. Secondly, I would like to, just add that whatever questions that I have missed or I could not answer, I will personally make it a point to reply to all of those. And I request your patronage in the next Indic chat as well. And the details will be posted on their Twitter page. This particular initiative is extremely beautiful. I loved speaking for an hour. I was trying to scroll through your comments and answer as many as possible, but I could manage only 2. And I will make sure I reply to each one of you personally. And I once again thank you for joining in. And Jai Hind, Vande Mataram. Thank you so much. Good night.